Hey everyone, what I'd like to do today is talk about the Xiaomi 14T Pro. This Android smartphone was released on the 26th of September 2024. Mine arrived a week later. So since the start of October, about 3.5 months ago, this has been my phone. This has been the phone that I use every single day. So when I first got the phone, I published an unboxing video. I did a video about the operating system and multitasking and different things. That gives you an idea of how to use the phone. And there's obviously, out in the world of YouTube, there's lots of great reviews about the phone out there that come out on launch day. But what I'd like to do today in this video is just talk about my experience of using the Xiaomi 14T Pro every single day for 3.5 months. When the Xiaomi 14T Pro first came out, there was a lot of reviewers, both on YouTube and on news websites, etc., review websites. They were all saying that this was an iPhone killer. They were all saying that this was a flagship phone killer. Now, I can see why some of them were saying that, because this phone does have a lot of flagship features when you think of the battery, the camera system, the charging and different things. And the model that I have has got, you can get here, the model that I've got here, you can see has got 12 gigabytes of memory and a whopping 1 terabyte of storage. So this phone does have many features which I would say are flagship. But it's not a flagship killer. It's not an iPhone killer. And I need to say that right out of the bat, because you need to temper your expectations as to what this phone can do. I think if you compare this to, an iPhone Pro Max or a Samsung Ultra phone or a Google Pixel phone, perhaps even, I think you're going to be disappointed. But you have to be realistic about your expectations, because this phone is a lot cheaper, especially if you pick it up in one of Xiaomi's famous value deals, one of the promotions. So as far as when I bought it and how much I paid, I think it was retailing at I think it was £800, but then there was a voucher that brought it down to £720. And then there was cashback, there's cashback websites in the UK. It brought it down to £688.54. Now, when I bought it, it also came with this 50-watt wireless charger, which is excellent. I use it all the time. You get the case and all that as well. But the other thing it came with was a Xiaomi Pad 6S Pro tablet. Now, I know a lot of you asked for me to review that tablet. In the end, I decided not to. The reason being, I've already got an iPad Pro, so I didn't really need it. The other reason being that if I reviewed it just for YouTube, I'd unbox it, I'd use it a while, it would drop in value. I wasn't going to get many views because the tablet had been out a while. So I decided to sell it, but I got like £345 or £350 for it. And after delivery and after, all the other discounts, etc., it means that I paid about £350 for this phone, after selling the tablet and different things. Now, I want to talk about that because whenever you look at reviews online about different phones, etc., they don't always talk about price and how important it is. But no, this is not an iPhone killer. It's not a flagship killer. But to put it in perspective, if I had opted for the iPhone 16 Pro Max again, I'd be spending about £1,200. This cost me $350. If I, got a Samsung Ultra phone, it would have been the best part of £1,000 as well. And the same if I bought one of the Pixel XL phones when it first came out. So this is not a flagship killer. This is not an iPhone killer in my opinion, but it's a lot cheaper, especially if you get this in one of Xiaomi's promotions. Bear that in mind when I talk about different things in this video. It's not going to stand shoulder to shoulder in every category with all of those flagship phones, but it is, when you think about it, a fraction of the cost. This retails at, I've paid like a third of what I'd pay for a top of the range Samsung phone or an iPhone. So it's not a flagship killer, but it does offer tremendous value for money. One thing that's very important to me is battery life. I've got a lot of chargers at home. I've always got a charger in the car and I've got a charger at work as well. But whenever I'm out for the day, I want to know that my phone will last. And even when I'm using this a lot, listening to a lot of music, watching a lot of videos on the go, this always gets me through the day, and it could get me through 2 days or 3 days if I'm not really using it. So from that perspective, I've been very, very happy with the battery life. You check online, there's lots of kind of like scientific tests about how much, life you will get when you're using this every day in different scenarios. But, my unscientific test is that it lasts just about as long as my iPhone 15 Pro Max did, but it can last longer in different scenarios. There's a lot of different options here as far as, balanced, ultimate mode, battery saver, ultra battery saver. These obviously adjust the performance and they will just adjust the battery life accordingly. I normally just have it in balanced, but there is battery saver and ultra battery saver, and I'll show you that in a second. There's different charging options as well, as far as you can charge to 80% to protect the battery, which was something I was doing initially, and then I thought, I'll just charge up to 100%. But the battery health, as you can see, is 100% even after 3.5 months, so that's really good. As far as the temperature goes, if you do the fast charging, which I'll speak about charging later, but in the next section, but if you do the fast charging and you do the ultra fast charging, it can affect battery health because of the temperatures, but I just charge it normally, or I charge it on the wireless charger. The battery is very good. What I tend to do with this phone, and it's something that I always feel is missing from iOS, is use one of the battery saver modes. So if I'm out for the whole day with friends, or I'm traveling, for example, and I'm at the airport, etc., what I will do is turn on battery saver, and you can still use it. It just, dims the screen a little bit. It's just not as snappy, but to be honest, you don't really notice it, and you do save some battery. But if I really want to save battery, obviously you can turn on airplane mode, which I've just turned on for this video, just so that no one calls me during the video. But the other thing you can do is turn on this, the ultra battery saver mode, and this almost turns your phone into like an old Nokia phone. It stops everything. It stops all those, Bluetooth connections, all the constant calls to see if you've got a signal, etc., and it just saves your battery. And actually, I remember I went to like Spain a few months ago, and I had this on, and I left it like 6 in the morning, and by like 5, 6 o'clock at night, I was down to like 95%. It just used next to no battery. So I love the fact that I can get performance with this, and I love the fact that, when I need it, when I need to conserve battery, I have some different battery saving options there that allow me to conserve battery. So with that regard, I think that's one of the best things about this phone. One of the things I love about it is that the battery life is very good, and it's very easy to save battery when you want to. So as you know, I came from an iPhone 15 Pro Max to this, and iPhones, as you know, they do not have fast charging. I don't think their charging can be called slow, but I guess it is in comparison to this. Now, I loved my iPhone. I thought it was a fantastic phone. I never got too frustrated with the charging speed, but after a few days of charging this phone, I realized what I was missing, because it's an absolute game changer, and it completely transforms what you can do. I mean, if I've got 20-30% on this, I'll just start charging it, go and get a shower, come back, and it's charged. It's like 100% for the day. It's just insane how good the charging speed is on this phone. Now, if you look at the official specs, they say that you get 100% in 19 minutes if you're using a wired connection, and it takes 45 minutes if you use the wireless, so the wireless charger. Now, I originally had a video planned about this where I was going to talk about the charging speed. So I did some tests about it, and I've got, all the facts about that. I've got the footage for it, etc. I never got that video out, but what I will say is that I never got exactly what was quoted. This is the official 120 watt charger. I think they were offering it to some customers. I did not get it in the promotion, but I picked it up for like £20. And they were claiming, we see there again, they were claiming 19 minutes. But in the test that I did, I'm not sure if I did it in the right conditions, but in the test that I did, I got up to like 39-40% in like 9 minutes, and it got to 100% in like 32 minutes. So just over half an hour from completely zero to 100%. one of the things I noticed was, you know, and it's no surprise, is that at the start when you're charging with this, you know, fast charger, you're getting about 100 watts or so, and you're getting that high wattage, but then it tapers down. And this is what they all do. They try and give you a really fast charge at the beginning, and then they taper it down to, you know, save your battery. But it kind of leveled out at about 40 to 50 watts after that. So at the start, you've got that high wattage, and then it leveled down to 40 to 50 watts. And yeah, half an hour, 0 to 100%, absolutely amazing. I do find myself sometimes, it's quite, you know, first world problem, but instead of plugging in a wire, I just put it on the charger. I can, you know, listen to a podcast or just set it on the stand. It will start charging up. This is a little bit longer, but again, it was like, I think I got to the, what was that, about 15 minutes, so you're about 35 to 40% charge, and it was 100% in just under an hour. So in the setup that I had, it was just about an hour to charge the phone from 0 to 100% using the 50-watt wireless charger. And again, it was varying up and down. It started off with low wattage and then increased, etc. And I got a higher charging rate. The one thing I did not do is choose the high speed charging option. That was something I did think about doing for the test, and then I decided not to because I was so happy with the results of the standard test. I didn't think I had to choose that high speed option because the high charging speed option does affect your battery health long term. So it didn't seem like a worthwhile to me. But as far as charging goes, this is just an absolute beast. Absolutely amazing. I cannot fault it at all. Really fast charging with the wired charger. In my experience, it seems to be about half an hour, but I suspect it's quicker if you change some settings. Wireless charger is excellent as well. It really is a big selling point of this phone. From a design usability point of view, I think this is a really nice phone to use. Feels really nice in the hand, and I really do like where the power button is. Obviously got the volume rocker there, but the power button is just there, very easy to put on and off, and the fingerprint sensor is excellent. I never have any issues with it. And it also has like a Face ID thing, so you can see here when I put it there, little tick, it's open. So it works really, really well. Yeah, really do like the design of it. Really nice phone, looks good. You can see just now that I have a case on it. This is the case that came with the phone. I did look at some other cases out there. I was checking Amazon a lot at the time, and I just didn't see any good case out there that was worthwhile swapping to. There were some other cases out there I could have put on, but I was really happy with this case, so I didn't see the point of, you know, spending more money on a case that didn't really offer much more. I do like the official case, but I do think that naked, the phone looks a lot better. So I have the Titan Blue, and it's a kind of grey blue, as you can see, depending on how the light catches it. And yeah, part of me thinks I should have just used it naked because it's such a nice looking phone, but you know, I put a case on to stop it getting scratched because I knew eventually I would sell it on. But yeah, the phone looks amazing in my opinion. It's got a nice kind of iPhone-esque build. You know, it's kind of got this aluminium build all the way around. It's really nice. I think it's a really nice phone. So it was a bit dirty from having the case on it for a few months. One thing I want to talk about next is the display, but you can see here that it's cracked there. Now, when you buy this phone, it comes with a screen protector, a pre-applied screen protector, which is really cool. You don't see a lot of, you know, other companies doing that. iPhone certainly doesn't do that. Apple doesn't do that. But it came with a pre-applied screen protector. But that screen protector was very easy to scratch. I found it had lots of scratches on it very quickly. So I ended up buying another screen protector kit. And I will go on record as saying this is probably the worst screen protector kit I've ever bought in my life. That happened after like a day. It just broke for no reason. I didn't even drop it, and it was just always making your photos worse. And the case itself, I've never dropped this phone, even, you know, once I've put it on, and it's got a big crack there. It just broke. So I put it on just because obviously I wanted to protect the screen, but I'm going to take it off now because it's absolutely terrible. So let's get this off and see the phone in all its glory. Doesn't that look a lot better? It looks a lot better now. So yes, I've got the horrible screen protector off. But yeah, from a design perspective, I think this phone looks excellent, and I think it's a really nice phone to use. But I do use it with the case, just, you know, to give me that little bit of protection if I do drop it. But yeah, really nice phone to use on a daily basis. Absolutely no complaints from that point of view. For a smartphone, I think the speakers on this are excellent. But what I'd like to do in this section is talk about the display. Now, I will preface this by saying that I'm probably not the person to ask about displays, because for me, it's not always the top priority. I would put charging and battery above having the best display on the market. And if you look at all phone reviews over the year, if they say that, you know, a phone has this quality of display, I'd probably be happy with the mid-level display, the one that's not really getting any awards. That being said, I think this display is excellent. I really do think it's an excellent display. I've not had any issues with it. It's really good as far as scrolling goes. It's really good as far as when you're outside, you know, you can still see your phone. You just have to put the brightness up, etc. But as far as specs go, I just want to show you that it's a 144 Hz AMOLED display, 446 pixels per inch is the resolution. Touch sampling rate 480 Hz, 68 billion colors, 4,000 nits for dimming, which is a big thing now with people hurting, you know, their eyes. 3,840 PWM, and you know, there's a lot of other features there, HDR10 plus, etc. So it is a really high class display. It's got Gorilla Glass 5. Touchwood, I've not had any issues with scratching it, etc., but I have had a screen protector on. But yeah, the display is really nice. I don't have any issues with it. 6.67 inches. Coming from the large iPhone, I don't feel that this is a big phone, but it does have a big display. Obviously it does, but I'm used to big phones at this point. But yeah, it's a really nice display, in my opinion. Very nice. And absolutely no complaints from my end. And then, you know, from a scrolling perspective, I've never get any issues. And it, you know, it feels snappy. It doesn't ever feel that it's not doing well. It doesn't feel like it's not popping enough. Obviously, you can go in and change the settings, you can change the colors, you can change the brightness and all that. But for someone that doesn't place a display as a priority, I've been absolutely delighted with it. It is a high-class display, but I'm sure if you look, you know, delve deep into the specs, etc., there's other displays in the market which are better. But for this price range, that display is excellent, in my opinion. I'm aware that a lot of people have reservations about moving from an iPhone or a Samsung phone to a Xiaomi phone. So I'd like to talk about what it's like to use a Xiaomi phone using Xiaomi HyperOS, which is their skin of Android. I have talked about this in the past, but I just want to kind of summarize my thoughts on it. And I guess a quick summary would be that for the most part, it's excellent, but it's kind of rough around the edges. There's a few things in there that you would not expect to see in the, you know, a published final version of Android, a customization of Android. So that there's a few things that are a little bit disappointing, but for the most part, it's really good. I've talked about this before, but one of the things I do love is the whole app draw system, where, you know, you can put it down. I can move this. Oh, I can go back out. I can float it around. I can put it to the top. Put YouTube at the bottom there, and if I want, I can bring out other applications. You know, there's Spot UK deals, and I can move it around. I can pop it to the side, bring it back later. So a lot of things like that you can do. I don't normally do it like that. At the most, I have, you know, maybe YouTube at the top and a browser at the bottom, and you can switch them around. You can move things around very easily. I won't go over it again because I've done it before, but it's a very useful tool, and it's something that's missing from iPhones, in my opinion. The other thing I really do like is app lock. So see, I've got some messages, but before I see those messages, I have to unlock it. And I've put an app lock on, you know, banking apps, etc. And it just gives you that added level of security. So that's really good as well. There's like a game boost mode. One thing I need to talk about though is advertisements, and that's something that puts off a lot of people, understandably. I don't want advertisements on my smartphone, but when you're setting up this phone for the first time, you'll see a message about do you want customized advertisements or not? But that's a little bit frightening at the time because it doesn't give you an option to remove those ads. But it's, for me, it doesn't seem to be an issue. I hope I'm not missing something here, but those ads, from what I've seen online and from what I've read, only seem to be relevant to Xiaomi apps, system apps. So that message where they're saying, do you want customized apps? What they're talking about is the system apps. It's worth noting that I don't see ads on this phone as far as from Xiaomi. I haven't seen an advertisement on here unless I went looking for it. When it comes to like the file manager and different things like that, just install other options from the Google Play Store. But if, for example, you use their theme app and then you download one of their screensavers, then you might see some advertisements before it pops up or something. They do warn you about it, but yeah, if you use one of their system apps, then you might see some advertisements. In that regard, it's no different to most other apps on the Google Play Store now, that if you use an app, they're asking you to, click OK because they respect your privacy but want to share your information with 1,500 companies. It's the same as other apps out there. What I do, as you can see here, is I've thrown pretty much all the Xiaomi apps in the one folder and I don't use them. But it is important to be aware of that. If you don't like that kind of thing even being on your phone, I get it. It doesn't seem to be a big issue for me. I hope I'm not being naive about that, but from what I've seen online, it's only if you use their apps for certain things, like system apps, etc. But there are some other things about this that are negative as well. I would say the ads are a negative, but there's some other things as well. Like, you've obviously, like with widgets, you can open up the widgets. These are all their custom widgets, but then you've got Android widgets. But there's just a few things that annoy me. Like, so when I first set up this phone, for example, I just started installing all my apps without really customizing it. And then I had it like this, and I had all my apps and I put them into folders. And then it was later, I was like, where's the app drawer? Because I don't have the app drawer here. Where's all the apps? So I found myself in a situation where I've downloaded everything, but I have apps on my phone where I don't have the icon here. So they're installed on my phone. I can see them in the app settings area. If I go to Google Play Store, it says it's installed, but they're not listed here. And it's this weird thing where if I go here, go to home screen, it defaulted to the classic mode. So when I first transferred everything from my iPhone over to here, it started downloading all my apps. It defaulted to classic, I believe, and I didn't change it. And then it was only, a few days later when I'm like, where's the app drawer? I'm like, oh, there it's there. So there's the app drawer, got different options. That's amazing. So now you have an app drawer. That's pretty cool. Now I can see all the applications there, some of which are not listed in the previous layout. But as you can see, one of the biggest problems here is that why does it clear all the folders? Why? Now I'd have to start all over again and start from scratch. There's no way that I'm aware of to kind of migrate back to the setup that you had before. So I'm just using that as an example, but there's lots of little things like that that become annoying. If you're really looking to customize things, there's just little things like that that are just rough around the edges. Another thing, and something which should not be on any phone, is this weird issue that I've got in Xiaomi HyperOS. So every time I restart the phone, for whatever reason, I restart the phone and it comes up, 901, you have an answering machine message. You've got a missed message. Someone was calling you. So you automatically, the first time it happens, I think, oh, I've got a message that I need to call up about. No, there's no message there. And every time you start this phone back up, you will get that there's a voicemail. And it'll say revised, or there's messages there, and you have to call. So the voicemail issue is a strange one, but it is there. I don't know why they haven't resolved it yet. That should have been fixed months ago. I will say, to finish on a positive, is that there's a lot of customization here. There's lots of great personalization options here to customize the phone as you please. And it's the same with all the kind of quick commands down here as well. There's a ton of options here to give you shortcuts to the most common features. All of that's fantastic, but it is annoying that they don't have what I would consider the essentials correct yet. There's a couple of little bugs in there. For the most part, it's okay, but you should be aware of those little quirks. The Xiaomi 14T Pro has an octa-core CPU, but it's from the company MediaTek. Now, I know with a lot of smartphone users, a lot of people don't like MediaTek, perhaps because it's less common in Europe and the West, but also because MediaTek was very common with kind of average or low-end smartphones. But the MediaTek Density 9300 Plus is a flagship CPU, and if you look at the reviews out there, it stands shoulder to shoulder with last year's top-of-the-range Snapdragon CPUs. So if you look at the reviews out there, it's a top CPU, it performs well. My own experience with it is that this phone always feels snappy, even when I've encountered these kind of weird Xiaomi HyperOS bugs. The phone quickly resets. I close the app, I open it again. It's very, very quick. I do have this boost speed open. If I ever run into any problems, I run boost speed just in case there's any problems like that. I don't really use it that much, but I've got the little icon there. But yeah, from a performance point of view, it always feels snappy. I've recorded 4K videos on this and then edited those 4K videos and then uploaded them to YouTube. I didn't have any problems. I can't really do a gaming test for you today because I've uninstalled all the games that I did have. I used to have a racing game on it. I had Call of Duty on it. I don't really game much on this phone, if I'm honest. I tend to just have them there for the odd sporadic game. But I didn't have any issues with it. It performed really well. I've just not done any extensive gaming tests. But this will play all of your, the flagship games out there. I don't think you'll have any problems with it. But if you want to learn more about that, obviously look at some reviews on YouTube. There have been a few times where there was an issue, but I think it was more of a compatibility issue with the MediaTek CPU than any kind of performance issue. And one example of that, or the main example that I've got, is the Xbox app. So frequently, if I'm playing with my friends on Xbox, if you've got a good goal in FIFA, or you've got a really good kill in Call of Duty, you'll click record, you'll snapshot the clip, and then you can edit it on the Xbox mobile app. But when I was trying to do that on the phone, which I never had any issues with my old Samsung Fold phone or my iPhone, it kept crashing. It was always crashing, and I just couldn't edit the clip. I just couldn't do it. I just kept doing it, and I don't know why that happens. I don't know. It still seems to happen. I think it's a compatibility issue as far as the app goes. Maybe it just doesn't play nice with the MediaTek CPU. I don't know if there's maybe one other app it's happened with, but across the board, I don't have any issues with it in that regard. Apps are not just closing unexpectedly. Performance is good. So yeah, across the board, performance is really good. But I did want to point out that Xbox issue because there might be the odd app that has a compatibility issue. For the most part, not a problem. The camera system is the reason most people do or do not buy a particular smartphone, and I think that's true of the Xiaomi 14T Pro as well. Now, I was coming from the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which had an excellent camera system. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It might not have been the best that year, but I was delighted with it. And one of the reasons I was delighted with it was because it was effortless. It didn't matter what I did. I just held it up, I pushed the button, and I always got a good photo. Not the case here. It really isn't the case with the 14T Pro. Now, from a camera app perspective, this app is excellent. There's a ton of options here. Video, portrait mode, dual video mode is really cool. Lots of different things here, time lapse, slow motion, everything you would expect. So the application itself is great. The biggest letdown for me, though, is this selfie camera. And that's something it's incredibly disappointing for me because I've got a young son. I always like to take photos with him, send to my wife, send to family. And a lot of the time you're just doing a kind of off-the-cuff photo like that, taking a quick selfie to send to family. And the photos are nearly always pretty bad. Average at best, sometimes unusable, and you have to take them again. It's really disappointing. This is the case with a lot of mid-range phones, but coming from the iPhone, it's something that I noticed right away. So if I find the specs for you, get the camera, Here we go. So this is the front camera, the 32 pixel in-display selfie camera, f2.0 25mm equivalent focal length, 80.8 degrees field of view. Right, so one of the issues that we've got here is that whilst the phone is capable of recording at 4K and there's a lot of cool camera features like HDR, portrait mode, night mode, etc., this selfie camera does not have autofocus, which in practice means that if you're in good light, you can sometimes manage to take a really good photo, but not always. But if you're in low light or even slightly low light, or if you're moving your head a little bit at all, the photo just becomes out of focus. But it's a selfie camera, and when you're taking a selfie with the front camera, you're not always stable. You're kind of holding the phone at arm's length. So your hand isn't always stable. The people in the shot aren't always stable because it's, you're all cuddling each other, or, whatever the action shot is. So it's hard to get a photo in focus with a camera lens that doesn't have autofocus. And there's been so many photos that I've tried to take and I've just had to delete them because it's so hard to get a good photo. In the daytime, it's a little bit more manageable, but in low light, that selfie camera is awful. Maybe my expectations are too high, but I think anyone coming from a flagship, then coming to this, you're going to be incredibly disappointed, frustrated, annoyed. I'm not going to say it's unusable. You get the odd selfie photo that is okay, but the problem is that it's not consistent. Quite frequently, when you're taking a picture with this selfie camera, it's awful, it's unusable, and you have to delete it. And that's been one of my biggest frustrations with this phone. So the front selfie camera is very disappointing. It's abysmal sometimes, average other times, very inconsistent, cannot recommend it. And it's making me question a lot of YouTubers because I saw some people saying that it was excellent. But thankfully, the rear system, this Leica camera system, is really good. So if you look at the official website here, you will see that we've got a 50 megapixel main camera, f1.6. We've got a 50 megapixel telephoto camera, f2.0, 60 millimeters. And then we've got an ultra wide, that's f2.2. So that gives you the 120 degrees. And with that rear camera, you can record up to 8K at 30, 4K at 60. The front camera can also do 4K at 30 as well. Video quality is good. Audio from the microphone from recording perspective is very good as well. The disappointing thing here is that this ultra wide camera does not have autofocus. Generally speaking, I've been very happy with the main camera system. And I think that if you've got low light, you'll be able to produce photos that rival a good iPhone or a good Samsung phone. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. When you go into low light, then if you're using the main photo app, you'll obviously start to see some noise and grain. That's true of most smartphones, but there is a night mode, and that does improve things a lot. Another thing to be aware of, though, is that there is a Leica authentic mode and vibrant mode. And photographers will use the authentic mode because they can take photos, put it into the photo application, and adjust colors as they see fit, color grading, etc. But for most people, I think they want to use vibrant. That's going to be closer to what you would expect from a smartphone. Skin colors will look better, colors will look better, etc. So that's the mode that most people, I think, will use. I think the main disappointment, obviously, would be that the ultra wide camera does not have autofocus. I don't use the ultra wide camera as much as others, I don't think. And I also think that if you're taking a wide shot, you're generally holding your hand steady. But if you take a lot of ultra wide shots, the lack of autofocus could be a problem for you. It hasn't been a major problem for me. I think, it's not a big problem, just because I tend to hold my hand steady when I'm using the rear camera system anyway. It's a bigger issue with that front camera. It just makes it very difficult to get a good shot. There are times, though, with the rear camera system where it's still a little bit difficult sometimes to get the perfect shot. And by that, I mean that there's a little bit more inconsistency compared to the iPhone. So like I said, you go out, you take some photos with this or using the main camera system, If you're keeping your hand steady, I reckon you can take photos that will rival any flagship phone out there. But occasionally, if you're not focusing correctly, if you're not paying attention, it's just not as effortless as an iPhone, where an iPhone you click and you always get a good photo. That, sometimes with this phone, even when using the main camera system, I'll take a photo and it's still a little bit blurry, or I've not caught something correctly. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but I would say generally speaking, the main camera system is excellent. The front selfie camera, it's really, really disappointing. I hope you've all enjoyed this look at the Xiaomi 14T Pro. Hopefully you now have a better understanding as to what this phone is all about. Now, I do appreciate this has been a long video, but I wanted to dive deep in a lot of different topics and give you my experience of using this phone on a daily basis. Now, one of the problems that a lot of top tech YouTubers have is that they get a phone like this sent out, they have it for a few days, they produce a video in a few days, and then they get that video out for launch day. And if you look at the reviews out there for the 14T Pro, there's some excellent reviews out there, and you should check them out. Now, I'm not being critical, but you have to be aware that that's how it works. They've got a few days with a phone to use it, review it, then they move on to the next product. And I think because of that, they sometimes overemphasize how bad a problem is, or they say something's really bad when really on a day-to-day basis, it's not that bad. And other times they completely miss something which is actually a problem. They just aren't seeing the full picture because they're not using it as their main phone for any extended period of time. And I think for a lot of them, they aren't even putting their own SIM card in and using it as their main phone. They're not transferring everything over. So I do think they get a different experience, and sometimes they maybe miss what's important and what's not, which is understandable. You've only got a short space of time to review a phone. But I do want to talk about my experience with it. I want to summarize it now. And what I will say, again, like I said at the start of this video, if you see this phone in a promotion and it's a good deal, like 400, 500 bucks, this is a phone I can still recommend. And if you watch this video, months from now, a year from now, and you see this phone at a good price, I think it's a good used bargain. You just have to temper your expectations. A lot of the headlines say that this is an iPhone killer, a flagship killer. It's not. If you compare this to other top phones that were released in 2024, I don't think this will be in the top 10. I think it matches some of those phones in some areas, but as an all-round phone, it fails in a few areas as well. But you have to temper your expectations. Like I said, when I sold the tablet, etc., I paid like £350 for a phone with 12 gigabytes of memory and 1 terabyte of storage. I mean, 1 terabyte of storage, just adding that to an iPhone costs more than what I paid for this phone. So you have to be realistic, as to what you're paying and what you're going to get back. And I think for what I paid, this was an absolute bargain, fantastic phone, very happy in that regard. But just to summarize what I've spoke about in this video, yes, temper your expectations, but I will say this phone excels in a lot of areas. The battery is amazing. If you're a heavy user like I am, I watch a lot of YouTube, I'm browsing the web, I'm doing a lot on the phone. It's like a mini computer to me. If you're doing that, you're a heavy user, you'll get a full day. If you're not a heavy user, you'll get 2 days. If you put on that ultra battery saver, if you need that, you could probably go 3 or 4 days if you're not really using the phone. So standby time, battery health, all of that's good. And the charging is excellent. If you manage to pick up that 50-watt wireless charger from Xiaomi, that is a fantastic little charger. This is, a great little charger. It's one that I can recommend. So if you see a promotion with that running, do get it. The wired charger here is excellent as well. And it really does transform how you use the phone, because you know that you can charge it up quickly. You don't have to set aside an hour or two to charge your phone. In 20, 30 minutes, your phone will go from 0 to 100. So the charging aspect of it is excellent. A lot of great customization options as well. You can really customize this as much as you want. A lot of different shortcut options. And yeah, it's Android. You can customize this as much as you want. App lock's good. The little in-drawer windows for the app is great as well. If I can get it here, I'm doing the wrong. There you go. So the in-app little toolbar there is great as well. That's something I really did miss with the iPhone, that I couldn't split screen, that I couldn't, have a floating window. I use that all the time. I use it every day. It's excellent. It's such a great feature. You know, there are some negative things as far as using the phone goes. For whatever reason, you know, when I reboot the phone, I've got a voicemail, but it's not a voicemail. Xiaomi system apps have ads on it, but just don't use those apps. So a few things like that. I'm making a point of pointing them out in this video so that you're aware that those things are there. But it's not a deal breaker. It's not even something I care about. It's just never a problem. It's just a minor thing. I do think they should fix those types of things, but it doesn't change your experience of using the phone. It's just something you should be aware of. I've not, you know, I did download a few games. I did play games with it, but I've not gamed on it a lot. But performance has been very good. As I said, I've edited 4K videos on it as well. Display is good. Speakers are excellent. And yeah, just all-round great phone. And you know, if you forget about the camera system at all, this is an excellent phone and probably one of the best phones you can get when you consider the charging, etc. But one of the main reasons that people buy a phone like this is the camera system. Now, on the positive, well, the rear camera system is really good. The ultra wide does lack autofocus, but you can still get good photos with it. But the rear camera system is good overall. It can produce excellent photos. And the camera app is really good. You know, there's a lot of different options there, video, pro mode, etc. Dual video mode's really cool. And, you know, documents, slow motion. This has got everything you would expect from a flagship phone for a camera app. And yeah, the main camera system is excellent and not as good as an iPhone. I would say maybe one tier below, but it's a good camera system. And I think for this price range, you'll be happy with it, generally speaking. Selfie camera, I don't know where to put it, but I'd put it between abysmal and average at best. It just isn't a good camera system. I mean, it lacks autofocus, and the lack of autofocus causes a lot of problems, but it's just not a great camera system at the front here. It's very disappointing. I mean, if you really try, you can get a good photo, but sometimes it's like 4 or 5 retakes to get that selfie camera photo that you want. So it's really disappointing. I just don't understand why you would emphasize, you know, the rear camera system so much and then just throw in a really cheap camera at the front there. It's kind of what you would expect for a mid-range or cheap Android phone, not what you would expect for what they were trying to market it as you know, a flagship killer. So it's disappointing here. And I do take a lot of selfie photos with family. We send photos all the time. So that has been the most disappointing aspect of the phone for me, without doubt. It's something that's infuriating that you have to take 5 or 6 photos sometimes to get the photo that you want with that front camera system. And that is the main reason why I'm not going to keep the phone. I'm going to trade it in. And I've ordered another phone, so stay tuned for that, for the unboxing. But yeah, if the selfie camera is important to you like it is to me, I mean, I'm not a poser, but you know, we've got a young family. We like to take a lot of photos. If the selfie camera is important to you, then this probably isn't the phone for you. But if it's not a deal breaker for you, this is a phone that you might want to take a second look at. So that's been my experience with the 14T. Oh, turn it around, with the 14T Pro. Kind of mixed bag in the end, you know, as far as some of the quirks with the front camera system, but it's still a great phone. And once again, if you get it at a good price, if you get that phone at a good price, then it's one that I can recommend. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If there's anything I've not covered, feel free to post a comment. I'll do my best to respond. I always do my best to respond to your comments. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up, click subscribe so that you hear from me in the future. And yeah, over to you guys. What do you think about the Xiaomi 14T Pro? What are your impressions of it? Is this a phone that you would buy? Let me know in the comment area, and until next time, take care.